We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Teofimo Lopez, the takeover. Some very bizarre behavior. It looked like there was a fight with Devin Haney that was on, then off, then on. It's been very confusing. Fans want to know from Teofimo what happened. Is this a duck? Did you duck Devin Haney? In this video, that's what I really want to break down. I'm going to break down my truest thoughts. Your boy Ego, often imitated but never duplicated. So without further ado, let's get unpacked. Teofimo went to his social media and he conducted a spaces. I actually appreciate when fighters do this. If there's a lot of like hearsay and rumors about your name, the best person to clear the air is, without a shadow of a doubt, you. We want to hear from you, not your manager and co-manager and trainer and father. We want to hear from the fighter. So I'm going to let you listen to some of Teofimo's excerpt from what he said, and he gives his justification for the Devin Haney fight. And basically, he says the deck was stacked against him, so it wasn't the right situation. And he explains why and who stacked the deck. I mean, he went over a lot, so we're going to try to get through it. And, you know, if you like this style of content, make sure you guys subscribe. I am the best in the business, and it's not even close. So buckle up, and again, we'll get through it. And subscribe to my channel. We definitely got a lot of content on the way. Teofimo Lopez, this is what he had to say regarding the Devin Haney fight. Again, I can appreciate it being from the horse's mouth as opposed to anything else. Like, I don't want to hear from other people. I want to hear from the fighter. Roll the clip.
And I don't believe that Haney's, truthfully, I don't think that they even deserve the acknowledgement to come back like this. I don't. After a shit performance like that, get a good win and let's stir it up. But there is no reason for me to go all the way across the Middle East. And I think that is poor for everybody else that we built this fight in the U.S.
Yep.
As a business analyst on that part, look, I only have promotional fees to pay Top Rank, but I could go anywhere, wherever. You guys could possibly see me and Tank fight. You guys could possibly see me and Boots fight. You guys could possibly see other fights in line that could be made. Rather than, what would you guys rather have me see? What would you rather want to see? Look, of course, I've been working nonstop on how to cut the ring off. Barboza tried to move, and
Now, right there, Teofimo says something that I found very interesting. He says that he owes Top Rank. Basically, Top Rank gets a cut of his money. I don't want to make this harder for you guys to understand. Top Rank, Bob Arum, Teofimo Lopez, hey, they have a weird relationship or situation now where I guess from what he's saying and what I understand, Teofimo is basically free to move as he wants. So he can do fights with Turkey. He could do fights with PBC. Either way, whatever direction he goes, he's basically saying that Top Rank, he owes them fees, aka they'll get a cut of his money. So I don't know the parameter. I don't work for Top Rank, but it sounds like Top Rank they got their own issues. ESPN deal just came to a close. They have to find home, you know, for their product, stuff like that. Teofimo seems to be a lot to handle. So I think Top Rank is just like, we got you under contract. We don't care what you do. If someone else wants to deal with you and front the bill, as long as you don't breach our contract and you give us our cut of money, we don't really care. We got Abdullah Mason and Keyshawn and, whoever else, Xander Zayas, whoever else that we're promoting, and they're a lot less headache. We're getting a cut of your money regardless. So that's what it seems like to me. Your boy Ego on this Unpack, that Teofimo. Now, he also talked about fighting Tank, which is funny because your boy Ego, I said the way Teo is crashing out, it makes me wonder, does he know something behind the scenes that is making him this like boastful and confident to be crashing out like this, right? So I suggested maybe behind the scenes he talked to PBC, Premier Boxing Champions, about working with them on a fight. I don't have, this is not something I researched or a source told me this. It's just the behavior, right? It's the behavior. So what do I mean by behavior? For me, Teofimo, he's kind of crashing out, burning bridges, being offered lump sums of money and then turning it down, seemingly kind of all over the place there. He does do a better job out the horse's mouth from explaining, which we'll get into. But for me, it's just been a little bit all over the place. And he's acting like he doesn't care. So that's one red flag. Like, does he have a trick up his sleeve? Does he have an ace up his sleeve for him to be acting like he don't care if he burned bridges with Top Rank? He don't care if he burned bridges with Turkey, or whoever else that has been working with him. And Teofimo was at the Caleb Plant car with Jermall Charlo, and he was in the crowd. He was wearing a PBC hat. It said Premier. I thought all this stuff was weird. So again, I put it all together. For me, maybe that says something. And then Teofimo, out his own mouth, he just told you. He says, would Devin Haney don't deserve a fight with me coming off that trash performance with Jose Ramirez. He need to do something first, and then we can mix it. And he was like, plus, it's not fair for me to go to the Middle East, which he elaborates on that. So I'm going to save that. And he was like, what would you guys rather, me fight Boots or a guy like Tank? So why is Teofimo talking about fighting Tank if my whole theory about he can work with PBC, maybe there's been some conversations behind the scenes, is not true? Food for thought. Let's keep going.
But there is no reason for me to go all the way across the Middle East, and I think that is poor for everybody else that we built this fight in the U.S.
Yep.
As a business analyst on that part, look,
Now, your boy Ego, listen, I got to give my credit. I don't care about nothing else. Y'all going to give me my credit. If I did it and I did it right in the best way, then give me my credit. I never ask for credit for things that I did not do. I am a real hunter-gatherer. So you never see me take, if I didn't make a prediction or make a prophecy in this boxing game, listen, y'all all should bow down to me. I'm the scholar of boxing. And I put these little nuggets out, these Easter eggs. Some people agree, some people disagree. But more often than not, these turn out to be true. Notice, and I'm doing it when no one else is doing it. All these other content creators and YouTubers and TikTokers, nobody has no nuts. So they're not willing to say anything because they don't want to get denied an interview or denied access. I just tell you what it is and then let God sort everything else out. So y'all got to give me my credit. But anyway, what I deserve credit for is what Teo just said is exactly what I've been saying. I understand Saudi wants to bring fight. They're putting up these crazy purses no one else is putting up or whatever, or no one else would put up for these type of fights. Let me say that. I think PBC has money, Top Rank, but they're not spending it stupidly on fights that are going to be loss leaders and there's no ROI. So the only one overpricing and overpaying fighters for fights that are doomed to flop is really at the moment Turkey. You know, I'm not saying no one else has done it, but when Eddie Hearn, PBC, Top Rank, when they do it, it's usually they have good faith that the fight will do well, and maybe the fight didn't exceed those expectations. So that's a big difference when you have basically you believe the fight will do well, and then it just doesn't. It doesn't end up doing well. Because at least you have faith that it could do well, and then it just underperformed. A lot of these Turkey fights in Ring, Riyadh season, all these fights, I've been telling you, they're doomed to fail in terms of financials, and they're splurging all this money on them. And what Tio just said is exactly what I said. If me and Devin were to fight, Tio and Devin were to fight, he's like, we built the fight up in the United States. Why would we be doing it in Saudi Arabia? Exactly what I said. And it's so funny because you have the compromised media and the fans that hate PBC, and they just went along with this. They're like, yeah, Turkey's taking over boxing. Yeah, he's giving me the fights I want. Yeah, they didn't believe these things, but this is what they said. And they said these things to be contrarian, and then now people are waking up. Why am I going to Saudi Arabia to deal with favoritism against certain fighters? Why would you take such an American fight with two American fighters that could sell in America and then put it and displace it to make it harder for American media to get to, and then also for American fans to get to? It doesn't seem sensible. This is what Teofimo was saying. He's like, why would I be fighting Devin in Saudi Arabia? So this deal wasn't right. Now you could get mad, but that's real. That doesn't. They were talking about Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney rematch, and then Ryan lost. But they were talking about that fight being in Saudi Arabia. Same deal. Why would Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, such an American fight like that, take place? Now, if it's an American fight that wouldn't be big, then it makes sense. Like Shakur Stevenson, Floyd Schofield, let's be real. That fight was like more for hardcore fans, right? That wouldn't have done no colossal numbers as a main event in America. But why would you take, if you're a business and you're about performance, why would you want a fight like Devin Haney and Ryan that very well could sell a rematch? There's a clear backstory. You can actually maybe make a profit in the rematch where you couldn't do it in the first fight, or Golden Boy couldn't do it. But based on all that's went on shenanigan wise with Devin and Ryan, you might be able to turn profit. And then you take it to Saudi Arabia, where I don't understand. And then people keep saying Turkey has so much money to lose. Now I'm about to start ranting. Now y'all done did it. People, because it's not making sense. When Crawford fought Madrimov, and I told you the fight was going to lose money, and then it did, right? People said Turkey doesn't care about money. Money is of no consequence because he's bankrolled from Saudi and he got oil tycoon money. Fair enough. But why are so many fights being held up or stalled out over purses and fighters not being happy with the purses to the point where they fizzle out if you have an infinite flow of money? You would, like, if you paid Teofimo a crazy amount of money, he would probably reconsider fighting in Saudi Arabia. You know what I mean? Because you know what they say, everybody has a price. So Devin, he was cool with whatever he was getting. But Teofimo, as he is about to say, he feels it was a setup. Plus, we do know from prior reports, and I've reported about it, that Teofimo, he didn't like the money. Let's keep going.
I only have promotional fees to pay, Top Rank, but I could go anywhere, wherever. You guys could possibly see me and Tank fight. You guys could possibly see me and Boots fight. You guys could possibly see other fights in line that could be made. rather than what would you guys rather have me see? What would you rather want to see? Look, of course, I've been working nonstop on how to cut the ring off. Barboza tried to move and we cut the ring off. We successfully did that. And we won the fight. May have a lot of contracts. They published it while I was reading this for the takeover. I believe it was May. So I don't have no issue with the whole situation. However, I don't believe that this move was for the takeover. I believe it was mainly for the Haneys. They
That's
published it
exactly
while
right.
I was reading the contracts. They published it while I was reading the contracts. That right there already gave me a red flag. This
So what he's saying right here is what I've been give me my credit. That's all I'm gonna say. Give me my credit. What Teofimo just said is exactly one of the main problems that I've told you with Ring and Turkey. They keep blabbermouthing before the ink has dried and before you get the fight going. You're leaking the information, you're reporting it, you're sending, oh, Devin and Tio and Devin and Ryan signed contract. Why are you doing this? Why are you telling people when you don't actually have a fight? Right? Which clearly they don't if they're now saying Devin and Tio fizzled out and it might be irreparable, unrepairable, right? So once again, you're making the same mistake over and over again. You are bragging about fights before you actually get the fight. And Tio just told you, he said they were posting and they published this. So they published that I was fighting Devin Haney when we were still reading the contracts, right? So we didn't have an actual deal, but then they ran off to the media saying that we have a fight. So he says that is a red flag, and Teofimo is actually right. See, Teofimo does a lot of BS, and let's be real, there's a lot he does that, like the racist stuff, he's unlikable. But when a person has a point, see, you guys are too emotional. I tell you all the time, beta males. You got to still be able to separate fact from fiction, truth from what's false. And you can still, like, I firmly believe a person could be homeless, but they might have game for you. Just because they're homeless, that don't mean they've always been homeless. They could have been a millionaire and then they got on drugs and lost all their money, and the economy crashed, so they lost all their money. So that doesn't mean people don't have knowledge. So whether you hate T.O. or not, you got to listen to what's being said and apply it to see if it makes sense. What he's saying right now actually makes sense. What part of the game is it? Why would you be publishing information about the fight is done and agreed if they're still reading contracts and you don't have a deal? Why are you jumping the gun like that? So he says that was a red flag from the jump, that these people are in it for Devin Haney, or they were favoring Devin Haney and they were trying to put like fake pressure on me to make me look bad. That's a fair point. That's a fair point indeed.
believe that this move was for the takeover. I believe it was mainly for the Haneys. They
That's
published it
exactly
while
right.
I was reading the contracts. They published it while I was reading the contracts. That right there already gave me a red flag. This is all in cahoots for the media to promote Haney because they had a shit performance. Now, this is freedom of speech, and my speech of that is this, that my speech on this is this, that the Haneys may have a lot of their hands in the pockets of the media. So it doesn't do any justice for me at the moment. Let them simmer it. They don't have anybody else. Name me another fighter that you guys will want to watch him fight. Name me one.
Wow. So he says they don't have no options, and the Haneys, they are putting money in media people's like pockets to sway the narrative and favor Devin or whatever, which we've heard about that for a while, right? And he was like, who else are they going to fight? Name me a person that you guys will want to see Devin Haney fight. That's why they keep using my name.
The Haneys, when I lost to Cambosis, it was Bill Haney and Devin Haney hugging each other, going up and down, celebrating because they didn't have to
So,
face
quick
me no more.
question. So a
Proof
quick
is in the
question with
pudding.
They
that
did do
said,
that
because
celebrate.
the Haneys are involved in this whole situation. When you presented Haney with a fight at the Sphere at MSG, when you said like, listen, man, I have a date, and he kind of just shaded you and told you that he's a boss and he does his things on his own term and blah 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 blah. Do you feel like that's still kind of like a thorn under you, and not this is why you're responding the way that you're responding? Because right now the public sentiment versus the Haneys is pretty low. So this will be pretty understanding for me to be saying like, listen, man, pick up your public persona right now, and if you want to fight, I'll probably consider it in the future.
To be frank, I mean, listen, the Haney's we've had two options and two offers to face them. They never came to it, and everybody always kept it hush. The moment this happens, people are ready to butcher me. So it's like, at what cost and who's really in control of this whole thing? I'm trying to show you guys there's other ways to it. Like, literally, it's a lot of bad shit that happens in this game, man. And sadly, I got to be the one that got to walk through all that. But I train every day for that reason, man. It helps with my mental. Because this shit ain't easy. This shit ain't for the weak.
Nah, you right about that.
Cambosis. All right, let me go back to that too. So when the whole Cambosis situation, see, I never understood the power that I possessed. That does a disservice to all of you here that are tuning in right now.
Yo, Tio, real quick. Name wise, and with all the, he went from being shamed,
Just play and shit. So
jab in ways
happen
Yeah,
with
he never said that. He
it
never
probably
said
just
that.
won't happen with with he.
every
They gave him 6 weeks to drop like 30 plus year. They didn't perform the way they needed to. That's not my fault. So it's
Yeah,
basically
I
off
feel
of
like you don't
bad
get credited.
position. I got
Yeah, I feel like
discredited for someone else's faults. That's why I'm
exactly. I
not
feel
gonna
like you
do it.
don't get credited.
Yo,
Just like with the
wait,
Canelo
wait.
shit,
One
they
quick
talking
question,
about
Jacob.
he
Real
could have
quick,
cut
real
off
quick.
the ring and
Yo,
shit.
Yeah.
Yo. So did His Excellency like actually speak to you about your performance?
No. He never even gave me. Look, to be frank with y'all, we didn't even get to go back in the fucking excuse my language, but we didn't even get to go back in the arena. His Excellency is doing his part. He got so many things they got to host on. Okay. However, if I'm doing the most, which I did, right, and showing the most, which we accomplished. I just feel like
Right.
treat the champion in that regard the highest. But who do they show afterwards is Haney and Dev and Bill. They show them after the fight. They show them after their fight. And I think that a lot of this is intertwined to something else. If you guys go back to Lil Yachty and Tank, Tank talks about how, he heard that Turkey said that Haney is his guy.
Yeah,
If you go back
I,
into those
I
interviews.
mean, he
I,
did say that. He did say that. I
Yo,
see
yeah,
that.
I
All
but
right.
believe.
but
So
Tio,
so
don't you
if
think?
if Haney is his guy and they want me to go that way, is it like basically stating out without stating that I'm meant to lose while I'm over there? The only way I get the win
Exactly.
is by knocking him out, and that's what Tank said too. And Tank
Yeah,
is a knockout artist, right?
yeah, I think Punch.
So Tio, so what you're saying that guy?
It gets deep. That rabbit hole gets deeper. The rabbit hole gets deeper. Now, you know what the funny thing is? I've been on wax. I've stated my thoughts on Tank being the face of boxing, and people couldn't handle it. Some people, they're like, oh, you just love Tank. Listen, I give credit where credit's due. Tank's that guy right now, right? So funny to me that people tried their best to condemn Tank, to make Tank look bad. And now you got these fighters who have in the past dissed Gervonta Davis, Tank Davis, right? Teofimo and Keyshawn particularly. And in the same week, both of these fighters are now referencing Tank in interviews about how Tank was right all along. I find that funny. See, nothing slips by me. I am the king of boxing talk in the digital era. You guys really should bow down to me, bro. I'm the highest title, numero uno, the scholar of boxing, right? I say it, I stand by it, and then you get to see. So Keyshawn did recent interviews, and he was like, man, Tank is kind of right. Everybody else is crab. I understand Tank. I feel like Tank now. I understand where he's coming from. right? This is what Keyshawn Davis is saying in his promotional stuff for the Edwin De Los Santos fight. Teofimo's like, man, that little Yachty, so that it shows you everybody's paying attention to Tank. They know everything he said, blah, blah, blah. Fine. He was like, go back to that Tank Little Yachty interview, and he's saying the same thing. He's like, yo, he's a knockout artist, but he's like, why would I go to Saudi Arabia? And he's saying Devin Haney is my guy. He's my guy. He's my guy. So that means if I would be forced to get a knockout. And if that for some reason doesn't happen, you know they're trying to rig it, like if the fight's close. And that's, to me, Tank said it first, but T.O.'s pretty much co-signing. If that's your real concern, that is a legit concern, because Turkey has made no qualms about expressing his bias and favoritism for certain fighters. Hamza Shiraz comes to mind. You got a Muslim fighter with a Muslim man in a Muslim country, and he literally went to Hamza Shiraz's corner trying to coach him. You are not on his team directly, right? I understand you want the guy to win, your friends, he's an ambassador for Ring, but I've literally seen people ejected or threatened to be ejected from boxing events because they are not the actual coach, chief second, and they're not actually in the corner, and they're trying to coach a fighter. The commission, I've watched it, been at the fights where this has happened, right? And then somebody was like yelling instructions and kept going to trying to go to the apron to give tips, and the commission was like, hey, you gotta give it away or you about to get kicked out. You know what I mean? But it's Saudi, so Turkey could do whatever he want, and he go to Hamza Shiraz's corner, and I've already made videos about it, and he's trying to coach him on how to win a fight he's clearly losing with Carlos Adames, right? You also seen other fights with like weird scorecards where you're like, huh? You know what I mean? Basically politics. And now this is what Teofimo is saying. He was like, if Devin is your guy and Devin's Muslim, Bill Haney's Muslim, and you like him better, because Teo, he's dissing Turkey, so that's only going to make it worse. So if you feel they're going to rig it against you, the fact that you ever came out and publicly dissed Turkey, that's going to add fuel to the fire. He really probably is going to hold a grudge and want to see you lose because you went in there like that. So to be honest, we know that these politics exist. I mean, even in Caleb Plant's fight, he fought Resendez. No way you could have gave him the fight to me. He was losing the championship rounds and the back half of the fight for real. And Resendez was just busier. The stats matched Resendez. And then one judge scored it a draw or whatever, or scored it for Caleb Plant, actually. You know what I mean? It's like, what? Like, how is this happening? But we've seen it with Turkey events too. Like, even Better Be of Bivol. Some people thought the rematch Better Be of won, but they were trying to push the rematch in the trilogy so Bivol got his belts back. But realistically, you could argue that Better Be of won the fight. You know what I mean? It was a close fight, but Better Be of arguably won the fight. And then pushing the trilogy, they did what they wanted to. So T.O., he's actually cooking if you get past his antics and listen to what he's saying.
I was trying to say before is that you don't see that things will be on an even playing field as we speak over there, because you would have to do above and beyond, which, like you said, probably having to knock them out.
The only way we get the job done is by knocking them out, and I'm not taking away from the my skill set. However, call a spade.
Now you mentioned about the principle. You signed a 3-fight deal. You did your part. You carried the whole damn promotion. We know that. Ain't nobody blind to that. And you had the performance of the night while the other two flunkies failed. And so you're now expecting to be treated as, hey, I did my part above and beyond, but now you're treating me like I'm, your third stepson over here. Is that where we're at right now?
No, it's not even that. Like, I don't want to put more bad mouth on anyone. His Excellency carries a lot of weight in the sport of boxing, so I can't say that However, what I could say is that things just weren't met contractually. We agreed on it. We signed and sealed it. I was possibly the only fighter that had fight 2 and 3 lined up, and things fell apart. That's not my fault. It's everyone on that side, and I'm I did get upset. I said some things that were profound, things that I shouldn't have said, but I apologize as a man. Took it on the chin, but I rather leave it as that than entertain it
Yo,
once more.
yo,
I
Theo,
think I
Yo, do
think you
you?
were good
quick
by
question real quick.
apologizing because I think
Put me in that hiccup when I'm still focusing on my legacy and adding more.
I see what you're saying.
This is happening because of
It's published high. You know what I'm saying? It's just that, like I said, man. I never took the deal to. I can't fucking say, damn, man.
But
I just
Tio,
never
Tio,
took.
era
you
lo que
bring that on
dice.
I
yourself
never
though.
took a.
Tio, you bring that on
I
yourself.
never took the deal that the checkerboard people wanted me to take, and I think this is what comes with it, people. But the Haney's don't care about that, bro.
Yeah,
They
and think about how
The
high
Haney's don't care about that.
Devin
They
would
need
be
that
for
money, and they'll figure out how to sue me. What the fuck?
that.
Yo,
They'll
Tio,
figure out
being
how
that
to
you
sue
just
me.
said, hold on real quick. Tio, being that you just said that that fight can still happen, what is it that the Haneys have to do in order for in order for that fight to still happen? Being that you just said it.
Fight. Show everybody why he should
So
Teofimo.
you
What
mean
he didn't
another
show anything
performance?
to
So what you're
anybody.
saying is Devin has to have another
Performance what?
performance?
Show up. Actually throw punches, not just move around the ring for 12 rounds. Show punches, bro. That's not boxing. I'm a boxer, bro. I grew up with black fighters. I grew up with Philly fighters. I grew up with Cuban fighters. I grew up with many types of styles. And that, my friend, is not boxing.
I think even your day ones would agree that if Devin Haney would have murked the sheep that Ramirez was set up to be, because he was there for the taking, but he didn't do shit with him. But had Devin Haney would have murked him, I think we all probably really be on like, yeah, we would like to see this fight. But there's nothing to this right now. What we're gonna see, Teal chase this guy for 12
Just
rounds?
you guys need to read between the lines with all this. After that shit performance, who did they publish afterwards while they were in ringside? I didn't get ringside after my fight. It was Bill Haney and Devin Haney watching who? Rolly versus Ryan.
Yo, what's up with Rolly though? Is that
Wow. So he's like, man, he getting front page coverage off of that performance. So that kind of shows you who they rocking with. I mean, at first, I'll be real. Teofimo, when his co-manager came out with the statement, I was like, what is this? This don't really explain it. It looked like a duck. But now that Tio is doing the spaces and articulating his qualms and like beefs, it is making a lot more sense why he would at least be hesitant to fight Devin Haney. And he's basically saying it's the politics game.
More of a reason to fight you if Boots is still gonna stay there. But if not that, man, like I said, you got Hitchens, man, New York City all day. You and Hitchens, and you know Hitchens know how to talk his talk. You know
My
how to
whole thing,
talk your
yeah,
talk.
for sure, for sure.
You
Listen,
have a spar win before?
with Hitchinson, nah. With Hitchens,
Nah.
nah. No. Which
All
even makes
right.
it better. I
Yeah, I'm
just,
glad that makes it better, way better, for
you know what I'm
sure.
saying?
Hey,
I
Teal, does it surprise you how the media? Does it surprise you how the media
no,
easily swept
no,
under the rug? How Boots did not take this fight for his lucrative pay against you, and nobody
no.
like nothing about it.
Cause no, cause I'm the black sheep of boxing. It's just point blank, bro. Why is it that whenever I say something is low radar, but when it's something bad about me, it's up there. It's published high. You know what I'm saying? It's just that, like I said, man. I never took the deal to. I can't fucking say, damn, man.
but
I just
Tio,
never
Tio,
took.
Mira
you
lo que
bring that on
dice.
I
yourself
never
though.
took a.
Tio, you bring that on
I
yourself.
never took the deal that the checkerboard people wanted me to take, and I think this is what comes with it, people. But I just had to trust my intuition. Something told me not to take this fight with Haney, and for business purposes, I think that I had a good reason why not to right now. Hey, look, it can still happen. I think the Haneys
Facts.
need to pick it up. They need to show that they actually do have it in them to want to fight and not just run. I'm not gonna go over there and not know what could happen. I'd rather just figure it out from there and
Yes,
just wait my
on
options, weigh my
May 3rd,
options.
on May 3rd,
Now, that part, I mean, that part's going to be a bit debatable. You know what I mean? As far as like, because I wanted to see the fight. I was down to see the fight between Devin, but he's basically saying Devin's performance was so low that there hasn't been much excitement. You know what I mean? And it's a little bit confusing with the spaces because you have people jumping in, so it's not like a professional interview, and you got people barking and like jumping in and stuff like that. But basically, there's another portion of this where he says that he felt it would be a setup. Devin, he said he has respect for different religions, but let's be real. Devin's Muslim, Turkey's Muslim, fighting in Saudi Arabia, in a Muslim country, Islamic faith. You know what I mean? He feels like the deck would be stacked against him. Again, these statements aren't far-fetched. Those statements. Now, again, it's going to be debatable if you think Devin needs to earn the performance because he has been undisputed. He did fight Lomachenko, who just retired. You know what I mean? So the whole bit about he needs to earn it because his last performance wasn't that great, that part, I guess, is debatable at best.
Do in order for that fight to still happen, being that you just said it.
Fight. Show everybody why he should. Teofimo.
So you mean
he didn't
another
show
performance?
anything to anybody?
So what you're saying is
he's moving around the ring for 12 rounds. Show punches, bro. I grew up with men.
The sheep that Ramirez was set up to be. There's nothing to this right now. When we're gonna see Teal chase this guy for 12 rounds?
You guys need to read between the lines with all this. After that shit performance, who did they publish afterwards while they were in ringside? I didn't get ringside after my fight. It was Bill Haney and Devin Haney watching who? Rolly versus Ryan.
Yo, what's up with Rolly though?
So again, Teofimo back on that. He's basically like he made it sound like he wasn't in the venue anymore, but he was like, they didn't put me ringside. How come Devin Haney and Bill, they got ringside? And he's like, you can't punish me because Ryan didn't perform. He was like, I performed. So again, I wanted to unpack this to discuss all the variables. Some of what Tio is saying is actually surprisingly reasonable. Now, if you're a beta male and you're emotional and you only want to hear one side, I mean, you're gonna be like, no, Tio, you know, I'm not into none of that like radical stuff. We're here to really talk boxing. And if your concern is politics, I think all fighters, when you're dealing with favoritism and biases and stuff like that, all fighters have to be aware of that. And, you know, Tio was smart to bring up what Tank said. He was like, because here's the thing. In a pro fight, all you got to do is win majority of the 12 rounds in a championship fight. But we all know in boxing, the way politics are set up, that's not always the case. Sometimes if you don't like beat the dog-ish out of somebody, if you don't knock them out, you're going to get robbed. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it many a times. So that is a real life concern. So despite all the BS that Tio has done and said in the past, there are angles of his argument that are valid that have to be explored. You know, even in Canelo Crawford, Turkey has all but said that Terrence Crawford is his guy. He literally had a post where it was Canelo facing off with Crawford on his Instagram, and Turkey says, you guys know who I'm with. Again, why is the advisor, the money man, openly and brazenly telling you that he's rocking with and wants certain people to win? Turkey has done this multiple times that I can think of. Hamza Shiraz versus Carlos Adames clearly wanted him to win, right? He clearly wanted Ryan Garcia to beat Rolly, right? Because they were trying to build the Haney rematch with Ryan. You have the fight with Canelo Skull. Obviously, he wanted Skull to lose because you were planning on Canelo Crawford. But even Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, it was weird. You guys can research it. I've seen it with my own two eyes. Turkey had done a FaceTime with Tyson Fury and Usyk. He told Usyk to his face that he wanted Tyson Fury to win. I think it was ahead of the rematch because they fought twice. I'm pretty sure it was ahead of the second fight. He literally, because I think he wanted a trilogy. So he was rocking with Tyson Fury, who lost both fights to Usyk. Again, clear-cut conflict of interest. And when here's the thing with money. Some people who have money feel like that's the end-all be-all. I have money, I have privilege, ain't no one going to tell me what to do. Then you couple that with the fact that you're in another country, so they can slam the prison doors, like imprison you. You know what I mean? You seen what happened in Russia with Brittany Griner. You dig? So at the end of the day, you're beholden to the law of the land wherever you're at. So if Teofimo has not made himself likable, he's not Muslim to my knowledge, then you're going against a Muslim fighter who is more subservient. Bill Haney and Devin Haney, all they do is talk about how Turkey's great and Turkey this, and they like beg Turkey to get seen and, you know, get on the card or whatever. So they're not doing anything. Plus they're Muslim and Turkey's Muslim. Teo feels like, yo, this thing is rigged against me. That, unfortunately, how boxing works, that is a valid concern. The other thing that Teo has mentioned that is it's actually debatable if Teo should be the A side. That part actually makes sense. He fought Lomachenko before Devin Haney, and he did better versus Lomachenko. So probably the best name on Teo's resume is Lomachenko, and the best name on Devin's resume is Lomachenko. One guy kind of barely scraped by, draw-ish type of fight. And Teofimo, I thought he clearly beat Lomachenko, who had a slow start, right? So he was unified. He beat Lomachenko before you. And he has the Josh Taylor win. And when we're talking about boxing, boxing is a what have you done for me lately type of sport. The other thing to factor in is if we're going off of recency bias, Teo actually had a much sharper performance versus a champion, Arnold Barboza, who was on a tear and a win streak, versus Devin Haney, who fought at a catchweight and fought Jose Ramirez, who was coming off of a November loss to Barboza. So you guys could get mad. Oh, Teo's racing. Oh, no, bump that. But you're not listening. Teo's fighting the guy that beat the guy. Devin is fighting the leftovers that lost to the guy that Teo beat. And then performance versus performance, we know Teofimo overall had a sharper performance and more offense. And he was having fun. He was dancing. He was showboating. He was kind of styling on Barboza, who again beat Jose Ramirez. Devin is fighting at a catchweight against the guy that Barboza just beat, and he was off a loss. And he had been, like, in my opinion, I told you that before the fight, Ramirez, he ain't looked like fire since the Maurice Hooker fight. So he's been faded and kind of washed for a while. Teofimo also beat Josh Taylor, who beat Jose Ramirez. So when you really boil it down, Teofimo has the stronger resume. And even in the Kambosos fight, which is Teo's only loss, that pales in comparison to the Ryan Garcia fight. Teo got dropped, but then he later came back to drop George Kambosos. You know what I mean? So when you're looking like loss versus initially a loss for Devin, Teo's loss is not as bad to Kambosos, how it played out. I'm not talking about the opponent, but I'm saying how he didn't get like dropped 6 times or whatever Devin got dropped. So there is an argument. Now, you could play in devil's advocate, being fair. You could be like, Teo lost to Kambosos, Devin beat him twice. So Devin has that. But I really don't want to use Kambosos as this like masterful barometer because I just don't. I'm not going to disrespect the man, but we'll leave it at that. So yeah, I mean, it really could be argued if Teofimo should even be the A side. So to be honest, when Teo is articulating his point, I kind of understand it. Like, why is he ringside? Why are you favoring him? Why would I go over there when it's an American fight? Why would I go over there when he's Muslim, you're Muslim, and that potentially is your guy? So I can't just fight a fair fight if it happens to be close, or if Devin happens to run and just be boxing and not really engaging. They might just try to throw that loss on me. These are valid points in a sport like boxing. I stand on that. Again, I don't condone all that BS that Teofimo did. I mean, come on, bro. It goes without saying. I don't condone any type of racism in general on my channel since I started. So that's out the window. But in terms of like eloquently kind of speaking to the issues of the fight, if you're not happy with the money, you don't think you're going to be treated fairly, or there's like a connection there, like where they want this guy to win. I mean, these are all things that you must consider, right? You got to consider. I mean, Frank Martin did the same thing. He was like, yeah, I was down to fight Shakur, but the money wasn't right. Why would I go to Shakur enemy territory, fight on ESPN enemy network, fight and give him home court advantage? Why am I giving him all this? You know what I mean? And I think even more so than Frank Martin, Teofimo, comparatively speaking, resume versus resume, he has more of an argument, his resume versus Devin. Again, you guys let me know in the comment section, who has a stronger resume? Who has a stronger resume, and in their resume, who has the stronger performances, right? And the other thing is too, is I do question, I want to personally see it because it's just been lingering on too long, but how, based on the Devin that showed up with Ramirez, how would a Teofimo fight even look? Because that looked like a shell-shocked Devin that really doesn't want to commit. Teofimo got some cracks, and I don't know. That could be a semi-boring fight, you know what I mean? If Devin is not fighting how he fought like Regis Prograis or maybe before the Ryan Garcia fight. We really, to be honest, we really don't know what version of Devin is remaining, because Devin made it sound like he was going to step on Ramirez, and he ain't really step on him like that. And the crazy thing is, Ramirez seemed pretty lifeless in the fight. So it seemed like the perfect opponent for Devin to really make a statement that, yeah, y'all still talking about that Ryan Garcia fight? I'm back. But he didn't really do that. He didn't have a I'm back type of performance. Teofimo had more of a I'm back performance with a stronger candidate who beat the guy that Devin had a lackluster performance with, which I already went over, Barbosa. Barbosa beat Jose Ramirez. So yeah, he's making some solid points, especially like, yo, why they keep showing him on camera? Like, you trying to rig it against me to the point where I need a heavy knockout or a super demo job in order to win. And on top of that, even if it's not like fixed and rigged and all that and favoritism, it's an American fight. So that in and of itself, I've been said that. That's an American fight. Like, that's like putting Canelo and Crawford in Saudi Arabia. I mean, you could do it, but that's hurtful to boxing when we already know what the Mecca is. Man, stop playing. Anyway, that's what I had to say. Let me know what you guys think. Much more to come. I'm sure I'm going to get some good comments on this one. And that's Teofimo. He did his spaces. Let me know what you think. We unpacked. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I could provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new, but even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate, so ultimately you can realize all of your online goals. Use my affiliate link in the description and grow your channel fast.